Hi everyone. I'm back and ready to read chapter 5 of My Father's Dragon. The author of My Father's Dragon is Ruth Stiles Gannett, and the illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, is Ruth Gannett. In the last chapter, chapter 4, Elmer, the boy in the story, finally made it onto Wild Island. But he almost got caught by a lot of different animals. Do you remember? There were two tortoises who thought he was a monkey. There was a tiny little mouse who felt his knapsack and thought it was a strange rock. And there were two wild pigs that were talking about all the clues they'd found that someone had invaded, had come onto the island without being asked to come, their space. So far, Elmer has managed to avoid all of them. And this next chapter, chapter 5, is called My Father Meets Some Tigers. The river was very wide and muddy, and the jungle was very gloomy and dense. The trees grew close to each other, and what room there was between them was taken up by great high ferns with sticky leaves. My father hated to leave the beach, but he decided to start along the riverbank where at least the jungle wasn't quite so thick. He ate 3 tangerines, making sure to keep all the peels this time, and put on his rubber boots. My father tried to follow the riverbank, but it was very swampy, and as he went farther, the swamp became deeper. When it was almost as deep as his boot tops, he got stuck in the oozy, mucky mud. My father tugged and nearly pulled his boots right off, but at last he managed to wade, that means walk through something wet, to a drier place. Here, the jungle was so thick that he could hardly see where the river was. He unpacked his compass. Remember, that's a tool that he packed that helps him know what direction he's going in. He unpacked his compass and figured out the direction he should walk in order to stay near the river. But he didn't know that the river made a very sharp curve away from him just a little way beyond. And so, as he walked straight ahead, he was getting farther and farther away from the river. Uh-oh. If he doesn't stay close to the river, he won't be able to find the baby dragon, because that's where the baby dragon is tied up. Let's see, where was I? It was very hard to walk in the jungle. The sticky leaves of the fern caught at my father's hair, and he kept tripping over roots and rotten logs. Sometimes the trees were clumped so closely together that he couldn't squeeze between them and had to walk the long way around. He began to hear whispering noises, but he couldn't see any animals anywhere. The deeper into the jungle he went, the surer he was that something was following him. And then he thought he heard whispering noises on both sides of him, as well as behind. Oh, that means something's on his left, something's on his right, and something's behind him. Yikes. He tried to run, but he tripped over more roots, and the noises only came nearer. Once or twice he thought he heard something laughing at him. At last he came out into a clearing and ran right into the middle of it so that he could see anything that might try to attack him. Was he surprised when he looked and saw 14 green eyes coming out of the jungle all around the clearing. And when the green eyes turned, they belonged to 7 tigers. The tigers walked around him in a big circle, looking hungrier all the time. And then they sat down and began to talk. "I suppose you thought we didn't know you were trespassing in our jungle." The next tiger spoke. "I suppose you're going to say you didn't know it was our jungle. Did you know that not one explorer has ever left this island alive?" said the third tiger. And there are some pictures of the tigers. Here's the first one. This tiger is creeping out of the jungle, probably right toward Elmer. Those might be some of the sticky leaves that were close to his hair. There's another picture too. Ooh, this one shows 4 tigers coming out of the jungle. Wow. If that many tigers, 7 tigers came close to me like that, I would be so scared. I wonder how Elmer's feeling. Let's find out. My father thought of the cat and knew that this wasn't true. Oh yeah, because the cat from the beginning of the story made it out of the island just fine, right? But of course, he had too much sense to say so to the tigers. One doesn't contradict a hungry tiger. That means you don't argue with them. The tigers went on talking in turn. "You're our first little boy, you know. I'm curious to know if you're especially tender." Ooh, that means the tiger wants to eat him. "Maybe you think we have regular meal times, but we don't. We just eat whenever we're feeling hungry," said the 5th tiger. "And we're very hungry right now. In fact, I can hardly wait," said the 6th tiger. "I can't wait," said the 7th tiger. Oh my. Here's a picture. The hungry tigers are looking at Elmer and they want to eat him right now. Oh boy. And then all the tigers said together in a loud roar, "Let's begin right now." And they moved in closer. My father looked at those 7 hungry tigers and then he had an idea. He quickly opened his knapsack and took out the chewing gum. Remember that? He packed bubble gum in his backpack. How is bubble gum going to save him from 7 hungry tigers? The cat had told him that tigers were especially fond of chewing gum, which was very scarce on the island. That means they can't get it very easily. So he threw them each a piece, but they only growled. "As fond as we are of chewing gum, we're sure we'd like you even better." And they moved in so close that he could feel them breathing on his face. "Oh, but this is very special chewing gum," said Elmer, my father. "If you keep on chewing it long enough, it will turn green. And then if you plant it, it will grow more chewing gum. So the sooner you start chewing, the sooner you'll have more." Wait a minute. That's not how they make chewing gum. Do you think Elmer's playing a trick on them? The tiger said, "Why, you don't say. That's fine." And as each one wanted to be the first to plant the chewing gum, they all unwrapped their pieces and began chewing as hard as they could. Every once in a while, one tiger would look into another's mouth and say, "Nope, it's not done yet." They're waiting for it to turn green. Do you think the gum's ever going to turn green? Until finally, they were all so busy looking into each other's mouths to make sure that no one was getting ahead that they forgot all about my father. And here's a picture. It's all 7 of the tigers. See if you can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they're all chewing the gum and looking into each other's mouths to see if they turn green yet. Oh, and is Elmer there? I don't see him. I think that means he must have escaped. And that's the end of the chapter. Wow, Elmer is very clever to come up with that way to trick those hungry tigers. Good thing he packed all that bubble gum. Chapter 6 is called My Father Meets a Rhinoceros. So he's going to meet another animal. I wonder what will happen. Can't wait to find out.